Hi everyone, Congresswoman Maggie Goodlander here. I want to take a moment to talk to you about an issue that's top of mind for me here at the Capitol, and that is protecting your health care. Look, every American, every person in the great state of New Hampshire should get the health care they need, when they need it, and where they need it, without breaking the bank. But the fact is, right now in our state, more than 70% of people are skipping out on the health care they need, are delaying basic health care that they really need, sometimes that their lives depend on, because it just costs too much to get health care in our country today. 70%. Now look, here in Congress, what we've seen this year are the biggest cuts to health care in American history that were made at the direction of this president under H.R. 1, his so-called Big Beautiful Bill. The effects of this bill in our state for millions of people across our country has been to see healthcare costs, which are already sky high, go up even further. We've seen 2 community health centers in New Hampshire close their doors because of these cuts, and we've seen a whole lot of anxiety, a whole lot of fear that people are going to lose their health care. I'm going to do everything I possibly can to stem the tide and to fix our broken healthcare system, because when I think about what our country's all about, life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness, none of this is possible without the basic health care that you and your family need. So what does that mean? I want to share with you 3 bills that we're working on that I think are really important to this cause, and they're bills that have bipartisan support. The first is the Fix-It Act. The Fix-It Act is addressing itself to the millions of Americans, to the tens of thousands of people across the state of New Hampshire who rely on healthcare.gov and tax credits that make that healthcare affordable to make sure that their family gets the care they need. Now, those tax credits expire at the end of this year. The Fix-It Act is going to make sure that we keep that vital lifeline that so many people in our state and our country rely on open through next year. You know, I was talking to a woman, a single mom with 2 kids in the town of Pembroke, who relies on healthcare.gov for her healthcare. She's going to see her healthcare costs raised through the roof up to $40,000 next year if Congress doesn't act. We've got to act, and we've got to fix it. Now, how are we going to pay for it? Well, look, you take a look at our healthcare industry in this country today. Some of the biggest corporations in the world, some of the most profitable corporations in the world, whose executive pay is through the roof, have been profiteering on this broken system. The Fix-It Act is going to be paid for, in large part, by cracking down on abuses of power that these big corporations have been undertaking for way too long. They've been jacking up your costs to jack up their own profits, and that's not right. A big piece of the Fix-It Act is the No Upcode Act. It's a bipartisan, bicameral bill that's going to crack down on abuses that Medicare Advantage companies have been undertaking for way too long. And it's going to give us billions of dollars to invest in actual people and actual care. Now, at the same time, we've got to crack down. What I saw working at the Justice Department before I got to Congress was that some of the biggest corporations in the world have bought up our entire system, from the insurance that you buy, to the pharmacies where you get your prescription drugs, to the actual providers, the doctors who you rely on for medical advice. We've got to break up the monopoly of PBMs in this country that are jacking up prescription drug costs. And we've got to crack down on the abusive practices that these big corporations have been undertaking, including the abuse of prior authorization and the absolute abuse of the claim denial process. I'll give you one example about why this motivates me so much. Just a few weeks ago, I was up in Plymouth at a critical access hospital where there was one person who I really wanted to hear from. Her job is to handle claim denials, that these big, they used to be called payers, they're now really claim deniers and premium extractors. But just to give you a sense of what we're up against, this big corporation was denying coverage of an acute pain surgery, refusing to pay the surgeon for the surgery on the grounds that the surgeon was not essential to the surgery. When you think about it, it makes absolutely no sense. But it's a perfect example of the kind of abusive practice that we've got to crack down on, and that we've got a bipartisan support to crack down on in Congress. So let me leave you with this. The big picture here is we need to return the power in this system to people, to each and every one of you and to the healthcare providers who aren't doing this for their own profits and bottom line, but who are doing this because they want to care for you, they want to care for people. We need to return the power to the people who've got the right incentives. And that means, at the end of the day, bringing transparency to this system. Sunlight is one of the most powerful disinfectants in government, and a simple bill that we're introducing today, the Patients Deserve Price Tags Act, is going to give you the information that you need, the tools that you need to make decisions about your own health care. Last week I spoke to a woman who was going into a surgery. She didn't know how much it was going to cost. The stress of going in for a big operation like that is already enormous, and no one should have to wonder what something's going to cost. So that's what this bill is all about. At the end of the day, I will not stop in fighting to protect the health care that you and your family rely on, because no one should have to wonder if they're going to get the care that they need, when they need it, and where they need it in this country. We're the richest country in the history of the world, and we've got to do better, and that's what I'm working to do here in Congress.